I also talk about technology, which is my other love. And I also love this panel particularly because I feel like each one of you is doing something unique or disruptive even in the booze industry, and a lot of it has to do with technology. I mean, we're here in LA, so we saw the digital camera disrupted the film industry and lowered the barrier to entry, and allowed for a lot of innovations in that field. So I want to talk to each of you about how you're using technology in your respective industries. I think we should start with Chris, because for obvious reasons, that you are a technology company, really, like a startup in a lot of ways. So is this a business you could have seen happen 5 years ago?
Not quite. Yeah, I mean, there was sort of a perfect timing or perfect storm, I think, that you've seen. Again, it was sort of this on-demand presence. At some point, the general majority of people had a location-based device in their pocket. I think that when we look at sort of the mobile app market, there were waves to this industry. The first were kind of, stupid apps like, hey, it looks like I have a lighter on my phone, or hey, I can pour beer out of my phone, or whatever. And then some people were like, no, you can create something interesting here. And I think you started the first wave of really a little bit more sophisticated social applications, right? And then it went into sort of these photo and video apps that started to take advantage of the cameras on these phones. And then around that time, I think you saw sort of the first wave of logistics-based apps. They were like the Seamless Webs and Grubhubs or Taxi Magics of the world, where I could actually now place a location-based order for something, and it would send it off to some party that would handle that for me. And then I think most recently where we find ourselves is in this wave of logistics-based companies that actually see that through to the customer. So just like you saw, an Uber come in after a Taxi Magic and say, okay, supposed to be pressing this button and have my order sent off to kind of who knows where, an Uber driver arrives and handles that experience for me. And I think that, say we have Seamless and Grubhub, you've seen, at least in San Francisco, companies like Sprig and Munchery and others that are actually like making your meal and bringing that to you or whatever it may be. And that's sort of, 5 years ago, it probably would have been a much wilder concept than it is today. We kind of joke that, Saucey is by no means an original concept. I think that probably everyone in this room has thought about Saucey. People like 100 years ago in a bar were like, wish I could press a button and have like more booze show up. I think that everybody's had a drink, has thought about this and wish they could press a button and have more show up. And it's been, how do we sort of use that technology to drive new and interesting experiences, sort of very on par with, I think, sort of, take the liberty to say this, the vision of Ludlows is sort of these prepackaged cocktails that you can't have out there. Something that we released a couple of weeks ago is actually cocktails in the app. We're starting to work with bars and restaurants and mixologists and brands, where when you're at home today or when you go to the liquor store, like I can't order a Manhattan, but now you can, and we'll send you all the ingredients in a package and the recipe on how to make it, and the video coming soon on how to make it. And now all of a sudden, at home, as opposed to me just focusing on drinking beer or wine or maybe like whiskey neat or vodka cranberry or pretty like straightforward drinks, I can order like a gimlet, or I can order like, a specialty cocktail from a local bar or restaurant that I haven't been able to just order to my house before, try, and then possibly go somewhere else. So it's how do we sort of unlock behaviors that weren't there before?